Hello and welcome to our April 2019 presentation. I'm Jim Clark and I am an attorney. I represent landlords and active real estate investors. Before we get started, I just need to mention that the material that's provided in this presentation is informational only and not for the purpose of providing legal advice. You should contact your attorney to obtain advice with respect to any particular issue or problem, and the use of and viewing of this presentation or any of the links contained do not create an attorney-client relationships. The opinions expressed in this presentation are my own and may not reflect the opinions of my firm or any individual attorney in my practice. Portions of this presentation may contain attorney advertising under the rules of some states, and prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome. Of course, if you need an attorney or think you might need an attorney, by all means, feel free to reach out to us. Our offices are in New York, and we're licensed to practice in New York, but we work with investors from all over the U.S. And if we cannot help you, then we're happy to point you in the right direction. You can find us on the web at www.clarkslaws.com, or you can reach us using the contact information that you'll see throughout the presentation. Give us a call. By all means, I'm here in service to you guys. So by all means, feel free to reach out. This presentation is free to you, but of course I encourage you to support it by subscribing and liking it so that we can keep doing what we do. So, we decided to switch things up a bit this month. New investors that come to us most commonly struggle with getting started in making offers. It really comes up all the time. So I thought I'd spend a little time this time around to go through a strategy to get your offers accepted. Now, while every deal is different, the strategy that I'm going to discuss in this brief segment is tried and true. This is how the most successful real estate investors operating in the New York metropolitan area get their deals from accepted offer to full contract when there's no real estate agent involved. You'll find the strategies we're going to discuss in this segment to be particularly useful in assignment and wholesale deals. And if you're interested in details of how assignments and wholesale deals get done in New York, then I would encourage you to check out our introductory video presentation on the subject on our channel. And if you're interested in taking a look at our full New York assignments and wholesaling program, check out the links in the text box below or give us a call and we'd be happy to give you more information on that too. First, I just want to start with a premise. What works in other states and localities won't necessarily work in this area. New York is different, primarily because real estate transactions are attorney-driven in New York. Both sides, the seller and the purchaser, will have an attorney representing them. Sure, attorneys can be difficult, and attorneys can be deal killers, but until the local custom changes, these creatures we call attorneys will be a strong presence in your deals. The path of least resistance for getting your deals done will honor this fact and use their presence to your advantage. What this means is that you won't be directly involved with the drafting and negotiation of the contract. Your attorney will. The seller's attorney will, but you will not. Once you've accepted that both sides will have an attorney and that those attorneys will take care of the contract, your role in making an offer becomes a lot easier and clearer. In this segment, I'll provide the following tools to help you get going. The offer to purchase. We're going to go through the goals and the elements of a written offer to purchase. The purpose of a credibility sheet, basically for building trust and to stand out from other investors. And the sample offer to purchase. I'm going to give you some information on how you can get this form document that you can adapt for your own deals. I hope you find this information useful, and let us know if you'd like us to review your offer to purchase after it's complete or need help putting it together for a deal. So the offer to purchase. A written offer to purchase it's a critical early step to ensuring that your deal will proceed smoothly to contract. Your role at this stage is very simple, and that is you want to get on the same page with the seller as to the price and the basic terms, and then provide that information to your attorney. That's it, and that's all. Your attorney will handle the rest. That's what they do, and that's the way 95% of the deals in downstate New York are handled. New investors or investors who are used to operating in other states often have a hard time accepting this, because in most other states, the deals are driven by the investors rather than the attorneys as it is in New York. Now, this is both a blessing and a curse. It's a curse because as an investor, you have to let go of the process in order for it to move forward. You have to put it in the hands of your attorney and trust that it will get done. Many investors aren't comfortable with giving up that kind of control and having faith in someone else, much less an attorney. However, this is also a blessing in that if you're able to align yourself with an attorney that understands this stuff and with whom you trust to have your best interests at heart, then it'll free you up to do the things that you do best, and that's finding more deals, while your attorney ensures that the deals you do find get done. It's a lot of work to get a deal under contract, clear the title, and get it to closing. In New York, the attorneys handle all of this, usually for a low fixed price. Knowing that this is how it generally works in New York, your main task is to get on the same page with the seller so you can then pass it on to the attorneys so that they can do their thing. Getting on the same page with the seller as to the price and the basic terms means drafting a simple, non-binding written offer to purchase that the seller will sign, and that will then be provided to the attorneys for both sides. Since there is most likely no realtor involved, you should be prepared to provide this written offer to purchase. And I'll tell you how you can get a free sample offer to purchase that we usually use, and that some of our most successful clients use later in the presentation. But for now, let's go through the process. So the goals of the offer to purchase. What are the goals? Why would you do an offer to purchase? Number one, you want to communicate the key points, but not the details, to the seller. Number two, you want to identify the parties involved with the deal and their attorneys. That way everybody knows who they're dealing with. That way contracts can be drafted with the proper identifying information on them. Number three, you want to give the seller assurance that you're serious about proceeding with the deal and establish a timeline and a protocol for the deal to move forward. And number four, you want to lay the groundwork for factors that might trigger a renegotiation of the purchase price later on. The key elements of an offer to purchase. Number one, you want to identify your offer. The key terms should include the agreed price, the amount of the contract deposit, and the timing of the closing. Number two, you want to identify the parties. The offer should have the full legal names, addresses, and contact information for the seller, for you, the seller's attorney, and for your attorney. That information is critical for getting it to contract. You also want to identify the contingencies. Most common contingencies we see are due diligence contingencies or building condition contingencies, sometimes financing contingencies. It depends on the type of deal and what you negotiate with the seller. Number four, you want to communicate that this is non-binding. This is the part that many investors have trouble with because they're trying to lock down a deal. But the non-binding language should be in every offer to purchase. In the sample offer to purchase that we use, we'll give you that sample language so you can see it. The reason for this is because you don't want to bind yourself to something before you have your attorney look at it. That's number one. And number two, it'll make the seller more comfortable in signing it because they'll know it's non-binding. It's really just a memorandum of understanding. Next point we're going to go through is that you should consider attaching a credibility sheet to your offer to purchase. Your offer to purchase might be your only contact with the seller. And they're going to take your offer to purchase and they're going to go back and talk to their loved ones about it and whether they should go with it or not. And real estate investors often have a bad rap of being unscrupulous business people. A credibility sheet can help you break down any negative preconceived notions. A seller getting a good vibe about you could be the difference between you getting the deal or not, especially if the seller has strong personal connections to the property. How many times I hear at closings that the seller had better offers, but for some reason they liked my client better and so they went with it. Happens all the time. I've included some discussion on the contents of a credibility sheet next, but in summary, you'll want a credibility sheet to convey that you're a straight shooter, that you have experience, and the personal and financial ability to close. The sample offer to purchase that I'll offer toward the end of this segment is a general format and can be modified as you see fit. And I don't think I've ever used the same wording for any two deals. Every agreement varies to reflect the specific situation and the parties involved. But before I get to that, I just want to speak briefly about the purpose of a credibility sheet for real estate investors. So other than the terms of an offer, there's only two things a would-be seller wants to know about a purchaser making an offer to buy. Number one, they want to know, does this person have the money and expertise to get the deal done? And number two, is this person going to deal honestly and fairly with me? This is what the seller wants to know about you. Real estate is a very inefficient market, and unlike the capital markets, investors don't walk around with a prospectus, and there's not a lot of publicly available information. So as a result, real estate is a very human business. Some information is publicly available, but the rest is based on things like gut feelings, reputation, and rapport. So the first point, money and expertise, is very straightforward and will usually be amply communicated through the terms of the deal. Things such as an all-cash deal with no mortgage contingency, or if you provide a proof of funds or some form of a track record. On a more complex deal, providing real examples of when you've been willing to be creative in the past can help. But they can be useful to you. On the second point, and that is, are you going to deal honestly and fairly with the seller? The approach needs to be more subtle. You need to convey that when the heat is on, that you're not going to head for the hills. Simply stating, I'm a straight shooter, or I always deal fairly, is not going to cut it. Give an example is nice, but really isn't practical given the short piece of space for a credibility sheet that we'll have. So what do you do? Well, on your credibility sheet, if you've got a license from which you derive your livelihood, such as a real estate agent's license, cite it. If some governing board had faith in you, then maybe they will as well. If you have a physical office address, then mention that. An organization with a physical address lends a sense of permanence and less likelihood that they're dealing with a fly-by-night outfit. If you've been trusted by reputable members of the community, state how. Did you invest money for others? How much? Did those investors get their money back? Did they get a return? If you have family, mention them by name and what they mean to you. If you're involved with your community, describe what you do. Be succinct, but remember that the key with all of this is to reveal some vulnerability. Something that you may lose if this thing goes bad and the seller needs a remedy. The seller has already put themselves out there, and believe me, they feel very vulnerable. You need to convey that you have something to lose too. This doesn't mean giving out your home address because, yes, there are nut jobs out there. It does mean showing a human side. Most sellers will automatically assume that you're shrewd and will be a tough negotiator because that's what you do for a living as a real estate investor. They'll assume that they're not going to get one over on you because the first part of your bio shows that you're a professional. This blurb is meant to reveal the softer side. And if you've done a good job conveying this, the result will be that they'll let their guard down somewhat. And with that, what you'll get is a foot in the door. And when they've shut other buyers out, that'll give you a competitive advantage over other investors. They'll give you the benefit of the doubt with certain terms in the agreement, which will give you leverage in negotiating a safer deal for yourself. And you'll get a better idea of what is motivating them to sell, which will give you the priceless opportunity to specifically tailor a deal that's more profitable while meeting their needs, which that's a true win-win. So give it a shot. You'll be surprised by the results. And lastly, if you'd like to get the free sample offer to purchase form, you can get it by going to www.clarkslaws.com/making-offers. It's also in the contact information in the box below. Or you can just shoot us an email, give us a call, and we'd be happy to help. So, as I mentioned before, you'll find the strategies we discussed in this brief segment to be particularly useful in making offers in assignments and wholesale deals. And if you're interested in the details of how assignment and wholesale deals get done in New York, then I'd encourage you to check out our introductory video presentation on the subject. And if you're interested in taking a look at our full New York assignments and wholesale program, check out the links in the text box below or give us a call and we'd be happy to give you more information on that. And if you have any feedback on how we can make this presentation better, feel free to use the comment section below or reach out to us. And if you like this presentation, then you can help keep it going and more like it going by showing your support or subscribing so that you'll be notified when new content is posted. And so we can keep doing what we do and stand in service to you. And so that's all we have for today. I'm Jim Clark. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.